The other thing, I don't know if this is a theory per se, I think Paloma Faith is a psyop.
Thriller. Both the song and the video are clearly based on a different genre of film, the horror film. Horror films are not thriller films.
Yes, why is Snowdon such an insufferable His inability to grasp the evidence that at least suggests Lucy Letby is innocent harms your product. How can anyone take you seriously promoting such arrogant, uninformed bilge? Get rid. Hello and welcome back to Last Orders. I'm Tom Slater, editor of Spiked, joined as I am in every single episode by Chris Snowdon, IA. How are you doing, Chris?
Very well. And it's a good job I am here, Tom, isn't it?
It is, because we're delighted to be joined by no one. There's no guest on this week because we thought we would do a special episode where we'd answer your questions, we'd reach into the postbag, we'd give Chris a chance to get some things off his chest that he hasn't been able to get off his chest before. It's got nothing to do with the fact that I'm away next week.
No, we didn't just want to get one in the can and couldn't be bothered getting a guest.
It's got nothing to do with that. It's all about you.
This is what the podcast is always should have been.
Exactly. So you said we've listened.
There's more of me and Tom and nobody else.
So we're going to, as I say, answer some of your questions that you sent in. We're also going to read out and respond to some of your band suggestions, your theories, and there's going to be
over a Letby corner.
Yes, we weren't planning on having a Letby corner. It's not that there's any news per se, but the call out for some of the questions and responses on social media flushed out some of yours and to a certain extent my bitterest critics. I think it's fair to say.
Very hateful people.
Yeah. But before we get underway, Chris, is there anything that you want to bring to the table here? Any recent news? Because even though we're putting this out next week, we don't want to lose track of the news cycle and the important things that are going on.
Well, I've made a few notes for once. A few things I want to get off my chest. Some of them apropos nothing. But speaking of relatively recent news, by the time this comes out, I was very pleased, but not surprised to see in The Guardian that a Harvard study has shown that AI is much better at doctoring than so-called medical doctors. So they put AI to the test. And this is not just this isn't even GPing, which we all know is a doddle, right? This is
Googling.
A&E, yeah, of course, yeah. So AI is obviously going to be GPs because they're just thinking, this, and this. What can it be? It's just remembering stuff, isn't it, right? Which is what AI can do very well. This is A&E, emergency care doctoring, which you would think requires a bit more human involvement. But apparently not, because this test found that AI identified the exact or very close diagnosis in 67% of cases, beating the human doctors who were right only 50 to 55% of the time. 50 to 50. Let's just dwell on that for a second.
Yes.
The human doctors are wrong nearly as often as they're right.
So you might as well kind of flip a coin, almost.
Well, I mean, there's more than one diagnosis.
That's true, yes.
So not quite a binary choice. But you would think that doctors, given how up themselves they are, would
certainly according to you, but I feel like you interact with the very politicised doctors, don't you?
Well,
is that different from you?
Yes, I suppose so. But they are arrogant. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Even the nice ones. But I could easily beat 50-50. I think I could beat 67, to be honest with you, with a little bit of training. But certainly beat 50-55%. So no wonder AI easily excelled that. More details there as well in The Guardian if people want to read it. But it basically means, as I've been saying for a long time, that the medical profession is doomed, that all the so-called medical doctors will be working in the salt mines when I get my way. This guy's saying, one of the authors of the study, I don't think our findings mean that AI replaces doctors. Well, it does. I mean, that's exactly the lesson. I think it does mean that we're witnessing a really profound change in technology that will reshape medicine. So we get rid of doctors.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. And glory be. So that's a bit of good news to start off the podcast.
No, absolutely. Particularly for someone who has such a vendetta against doctors. I thought it was mainly GPs, but it's just all doctors now.
Well, GPs are... Yeah, I don't like the 8 a.m. wait thing,
Yeah.
And that is specifically a GP issue. And also GPs are private, so they should be better in theory, but they don't actually compete with anyone. I mean, if you wanted to change your GP, you probably could in theory, but in practice, I don't think you could.
You can move?
Can you though? Have you ever done that?
And I mean, like you can move house.
Oh, you can move house, yeah.
Like people do with catchment areas. You could do that with GPs. If you found out one who's actually, not on the golf course by 2 p.m, you could
But I think
fit it around that.
That's the problem. They're all on the golf course by 2 p.m.
I suppose the one obstacle, though, to the AI taking over in A&E is just the more hands-on side of things. This is just diagnostic, presumably.
Yeah, but that's half the battle, isn't it?
Fair enough.
I think then you get the robots to do what you call the hands-on things.
Yeah.
Cutting people open, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I bet AI, I mean, doctors probably only have about 25% success rate of that. They're always leaving scissors in people, aren't they?
That's true. I mean, the whole medical profession. I mean, as you said on this podcast not long ago, do we even need doctors?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why I'm following up with that.
Do we even need AI doctors?
We don't. Yes. Yeah. I mean, no. I mean, my original point was if there wasn't an alternative, it's probably better just not to have any medicine at all. We can cut ourselves open. By that fella. You know about the guy who did his own appendix in either the North Pole or the South Pole? It's Russian. So
yeah, made a tougher stuff.
To be fair, he was a doctor, so he did know what he was doing. But he had a burst appendix, which meant he was going to die within hours if he didn't remove it. And with a penknife and essentially a bottle of vodka and a shaving mirror so he could see what he was doing. He cut himself open, tied up the appendix, chucked it away, sewed himself up. Absolutely amazing stuff. So that doesn't really prove we don't need doctors, I suppose. But it does prove that with hard liquor and enough courage, you can do a lot more than we think we can.
Do like bring back the barber surgeons? That's just a rag.
But anyway, we don't
drenched in alcohol.
we don't have to answer that question anymore. We don't have to worry about that because we've got AI now, followed by the inevitable robots. I think we're in 5 years. GP's definitely in a gone. I mean, just be replaced by Chat GP.
Yeah.
And another 5 years after that, we get rid of A&E ones by the looks of it, which is good because that's where the big weights are. And then ultimately surgeons.
There we go.
All we need really are physios and maybe some of the really top brain surgeons possibly.
Yeah.
The physios are the ones who actually make you feel better.
Exactly. That is hands-on. So, but that's a good prediction. 5 years' time, be a very different picture. Chris, it's been a good while, but shall we reach into the postbag?
Yes, please, yeah.
Postbag. Aha.
It's bulging, that.
So glad for that new
Speaking
jingle.
of AI, that is the AI version.
Yes, the jingle you're hearing, or you just heard, was the souped-up version. So what, you just fed that into one of these apps that you spend all your time?
It's called Suno. It's unbelievable. If any of you out there ever used to be in a band or ever created demos or anything like that, they probably sound quite poor, as mine do. Stick it into Suno. It's unreal what it can do. Absolutely unreal. Sounds like it's been produced by Mark Ronson or something like that. As you can tell from that jingle, which in its original form was fairly basic.
It was. But I mean, it had a charm, the basic one. I do miss it to a certain extent, even though it's not been that long.
We'll go back to it.
We've got some questions in. Although it's fair to say we did a call out for questions, band suggestions, theory suggestions, and the bands and theory suggestions will take up probably the lion's share of this podcast because people got much more.
Things, don't
they do, and we've given them that opportunity. But let's
too much of an opportunity. We're supposed to be an anti-ban podcast, and we spend most of our time talking about things we want to ban.
Yeah, it does start to resemble that like grumpy old men sort of show. You know, another thing that is groundhog gears.
Let's face it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Is what we're ripping off there, but
eventually this will become the whole. Eventually, it'll become the whole podcast, won't it? Down enough about stuff. But we have got a couple. We've got one slightly silly question and one quite serious one. Let's start with the serious one. This one is from Dave. Hello, Dave. What will be most unenforceable? The generational smoking ban or under 16s social media ban? What do you think, Chris?
Good question.
To kind of game it out. So if you were trying to, because personally, I think the generational smoking ban thing, it is absurd, as everyone always says, the prospects of but the 41-year-old and 42-year-old. But it will just create a situation which we're kind of edging towards anyway, of like everyone being asked for ID, even if they're quite clearly well into their 40s, 50s, whatever. You start to see that in London with people trying to get a drink after a certain time. Everyone getting ID'd at certain places, usually because they would have to scan the IDs, but still it would be like, I remember trying to get to a Wetherspoons once and there was this like Geordie couple in front of me, like well into their 50s, who were turned away because they had no ID.
Wow,
it was a particularly rowdy one. Maybe they just wanted that for the, police records or whatever.
You must get it all the time, being so baby-faced.
I know, if I wasn't as tall as I am, I think they'd refuse my ID.
Yeah, I suppose that helps.
But I reckon, in a sense, the generational smoking ban will be the much easier one to enforce, just because it will just create a situation where everyone gets ID'd every time they try and buy anything, alcohol, drink related or smoking related.
I think they will be able to enforce people buying cigarettes, with the ban on people that age banning cigarettes legally from legal shops.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to stop people buying cigarettes because by the time this kicks in, probably most of the tobacco sold will be illegal if it's not already. And we all know there's the vape shops and candy shops up and down the country. So in a sense, yes, it can be enforced. It's relatively simple to enforce because the rule is very simple. It's like if you're born, they call it Decline 09. The retail, whatever it is, the small retail association, They've already started their campaign, training people on how to do this. But the key phrase is decline 09. If it's 09 or later, you just decline it. So it's quite straightforward. The social media ban in Australia seems to be pretty easy to get around.
Yeah.
And a hell of a lot of kids have got around it. VPNs, I think, being the key to it. But also, I think maybe there's various social media outlets that the government isn't aware of, which have just picked up the slack. So I'm going to go with the least enforceable one being the social media ban.
I think that's about right. I'm sure it will curb it around the edges, because I think the idea that all kids are so tech savvy that they'll all be straight on the VPNs is probably not true. But surely it'd be a lot easier to do. There's a second question. I don't know if we're going to... I mean, it's from a friend of the show, Web Squirrel, so I want to shout him out anyway. But is this a question? Is this just a funny remark? They say they're called wind farms, but we're not allowed to suggest wind comes from them. Then why call them wind farms? What are they hiding? And why isn't Peter Hitchens being contrarian about it? Starmer's Britain, isn't it? That's like that as a
Is
question.
he suggesting that wind farms don't create wind?
Apparently he's
I
not.
thought that's what they do, isn't it?
I mean,
what's the point of them otherwise?
Why do they call them wind farms?
They wouldn't waste all that electricity producing that wind.
There's all just one massive
It's a waste.
con.
I've always thought it's a waste of electricity. We've got enough wind in this country already, and these bloody turbines producing more.
Just blowing
We should
wind
be-
everywhere. Yeah. These giant
If
pinwheels.
anything, we should be trying to suck it away.
That's a really good point. That's another proposal that we could take up.
Well, they are built on farms, I suppose.
That's true. Like the beautiful English countryside being besmirched by these giant H.G. Wells style contraptions. But no, sorry, we haven't really got an answer for you on that one. But I don't think you were really looking for an answer, Web Squirrel. Weird. But we appreciate
Trolling us.
exactly.
Big troll.
Tell you what, I think we should go straight into the theories, because there's quite a few.
I've got a theory.
Also, Chris, I'm sure you've developed a few of your own.
Yes, well,
So should we start with that? Maybe we can bookend it
This
with some of
isn't
yours.
really-
I've even got a couple that I've been talking to the team
this
about,
doesn't
which I'd like to
quite
bring on
fit
you.
in with either a theory or a ban, but it's sort of something that annoys me that other people don't seem to have noticed, which is Michael Jackson, Thriller. Both the song and the video are clearly based on a different genre of film, the horror film.
Mhm.
Horror films are not thriller films. They're completely different. A thriller would be something like North by Northwest or The
Yeah.
Fugitive. Horror is Poltergeist and, or whatever, Freddy Krueger and stuff like that. And do you know the thing about Alanis Morissette's ironic? There's a bit about how like nothing that she mentions in it is actually ironic.
It's like rain on your wedding day.
It's
like,
just unlucky.
Yeah.
It's not ironic. Yeah. And everyone always goes on about that. But no one ever mentions a more clearer cut example of somebody completely getting it wrong as Michael Jackson, where I think you got Vincent Price in the song going, ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
The whole video, one of the most famous videos of all time, is all based on them dressed up in horror outfits. And they talk about thrillers. So, that's my point I've always wanted to make.
I like
Any
it.
argument with it, Tom?
No, not at all. What do you think the Thriller video should look like if it was to lean into it? So
Well,
Michael Jackson is running across and a biplane just narrowly misses him, something like that.
Gunshots flying over his head.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But they have to change the song as well a bit.
It's not pacey enough, is it?
It's
You want-
after midnight. All that stuff wouldn't make any sense.
Yes, of course. It's not just the video, is it? It's all
No,
the
the
lyric.
whole concept of it, one of the biggest selling albums of all time, is fundamentally misguided. And nobody, not Quincy Jones or anybody, said, Michael, got this wrong.
Yeah.
You made a basic mistake here. Don't put this out. You're going to look stupid. But no one noticed.
He got away with it.
No one noticed apart from
That's why he's the
Are you
greatest.
going to be seeing the film Michael?
I don't know if I can bring myself to.
I'm
not a big fan
the
of the kind of
non-singing
viral
stuff is sort of it's washed off him, hasn't it?
As I understand
in a way
it,
that I don't think it has with someone like Gary Glitter.
it hasn't. Maybe we could get to that. But I suppose with Gary Glitter, he was actually prosecuted, found guilty.
Yeah.
Whereas
All right,
these
Savile
remain
then.
allegations.
Savile.
Fair enough.
Never
I
found
dare
guilty
say
of
Michael
anything.
Jackson is of more beloved and of more cultural significance than Jim Will Fix It. Just by a little bit.
But that means you can get away with abusing kids, is it?
I'm not saying.
Because you've written some good songs.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying it might be part of it. Also, they remain allegations, don't they?
I think they've been pretty well proven by that. Finding Nevermind
I choose not. I choose not to engage with any of this stuff. I don't want to, ruin it for me. But-
I think it's just because he's got a better back catalogue than someone like Glitter or Rolf Harris or Jonathan King.
Or even R. Kelly.
No one really cares
exactly,
about these
yeah.
particularly. They'll have their fans, but if you cancel Rolf Harris, what you lose? Don't buy my kangaroo.
Stuff, yeah.
Don't tie my kangaroo down. Two little boys. That's about it. Gary Glitter. Do you want to be in my gang? A couple of others. Can't even think of any others actually. Jonathan King, literally one hit wonder.
Yeah.
Everyone's gone to the moon. It doesn't matter if you cancel these people. You cancel Michael Jackson, you can no longer listen to a whole heap of songs like Horror And
Horror, yeah, that famous song.
you know, and that would ruin a lot of discos. But he still played on the radio. I think there was a time after the initial allegations where he sort of sunk away a bit. But in the end, the back catalogue was just too good. So it just shows you can get away with almost anything, so long as you write enough decent tunes.
You can work your way out of it.
I think Prince, like, God forbid this happens, but I think if something very, very dark came out about Prince, it would have to be really, really serious for me to not listen to it.
You mean like the Cannibal or something?
He would have to be pretty much history's greatest monster for me to stop listening to his songs.
No, I agree. And I suppose the new Michael Jackson film, though, isn't it? I haven't seen it.
Michael.
It gets cut off before any of the allegations have been made as well. So not even when they were made, but when they were supposed to have happened, which I think was clearly a decision and quite telling.
That's quite early.
That's why I read that. I think they made it in the 90s and 2000s. I'm not 100% sure. There's a lesson in that for someone.
It's called Michael as well, which I don't
A bit too familiar, you think?
A bit too familiar, but also there are some people who are known by their first name.
Yeah.
Madonna, Prince. Not many, though. I don't think Michael is one of them. MJ, maybe, Jacko.
Yeah.
But Michael, if you said Michael, you could be literally, well, not literally anyone, but anyone called Michael.
Michael Owen. Could be the Michael Owen.
Michael Owen. Michael Heseltine.
Michael Heseltine, yeah. That would be called Hezza, though, if they made Michael.
Nobody referred to him as Michael at the time.
There's all kinds of layers to it.
Yeah. Anyway,
I like it. It's got to go. Let's have a look at the theories that have come through. There's one here from Janie. Hello, Janie. Pet theory: the trans thing for our youth is a modern day variation of anorexia and bulimia, which was not indulged in the same way. A lot of people made this point actually, which I think
is a heavy point, isn't it?
It is, but it's one of those things. Some people have kind of charted it on a graph. Obviously, this is young girls who have convinced themselves that they're boys. It does seem like anorexia and bulimia has kind of fallen off a cliff at the same time as there has been this rise in trans kids, particularly amongst young girls.
Oh, really?
So I think,
How's every cloud?
Exactly. You only push the problem around. This shows, you can't.
At least you haven't added to it. At least the number of problems are still the same. That's quite
That's true. But
But now that the trans thing's going out of fashion, presumably this means there's going to be more anorexic and bulimia.
Yeah, or something else. We'll wait and see. Thank you for that, Janie. There's one here from Damocles 561.
Hi, Damocles.
Hamburgers and hamburger buns are sold in mathematically impossible formulations to keep consumers in a recursive purchase loop by Big Burger.
I don't understand that one.
I think these ideas that you can never get you'll never buy 6 burgers and 6 buns. They're always in irritatingly different.
That's true, isn't it?
Numbers.
Is it though? I don't think that is true. I think you can very easily get 4 hamburgers and 4 buns.
You think?
But yeah, in my local co-op.
We should go and investigate this afterwards and then remove this if it turns out to have been completely baseless. But nevertheless,
I think it's a flawed theory. Maybe if you get to bigger units, that does stack up.
I like the idea of it being a sinister plot, though. That's quite amusing. Like, just don't let them have it. One here from Stuart. This is not really a theory, he says, but I've got a feeling. And that feeling is that the I've Got a Theory theme tune should be sung to the tune of the Beatles' I've Got a Feeling.
I've got a theory. Theory deep inside. Yeah, good
I
idea.
like that.
Except the fact that Apple are extremely litigious.
Even that might get us flagged. Who knows?
Hence all the disputes between Apple and Apple over the years.
Exactly.
Because Apple, you know why Apple, the computer firm, are called Apple? It's literally because they would admire the Beatles. So they're like, the Beatles call their company Apple. We'll call our company Apple. Well, it doesn't matter. We'll probably never be big or anything like that. So then they signed a deal. The Beatles came after them very, very early on. And they signed a deal with the Beatles saying, they're pretty handed over a bit of money, but they basically said, we'll carry on just doing our computing stuff, but we'll never get involved with music. And that way no one will ever confuse us. And then, of course, they brought out the iPod and iTunes and all that stuff. And that caused yet more litigation.
Now literally called Apple Music, So,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So they promised not to tread on the Beatles' toes and went on trod them anyway.
There you go. So unfortunately we can't.
The Beatles took them for everything they got, but we are not going to be putting an AI version of I've Got a Feeling with the lyrics changed slightly because I don't want to get sued.
No, exactly. It's not worth it. But nevertheless, we thank you for the suggestion.
Nice idea. And I'll be thinking it in my mind when we do the, and so will all the viewers now, I think.
When we update the jingles, which is about every 6 months at the moment. Thank you for that. There's one here from Dave. Double, triple strength squash is a scam by Big Squash to excuse shrinkflation. There's a theme that's emerging here. But I don't really drink squash because I'm not a 7-year-old child.
Food and drink industry. I don't really agree with that one either. I think double and indeed triple strength squash is an amazingly good idea. It works very nicely. He seems to be suggesting that it's not actually double strength. I don't know if he thinks he's saying that it's the same strength as before, or if it's only 1.5 times.
I mean, he does say it's a scam, but I feel like anyone, you can tell that it's stronger. I mean,
well, right.
Yeah.
Maybe he can.
Nevertheless.
I don't know. He'll have to follow us up on that one.
Yeah.
But if he's saying that it's no stronger than the original, then he's definitely wrong.
Yeah, no, I think
I can believe that the triple strength one might be less than triple strength, possibly, but I'd have to do some randomized control trials.
Exactly. We'll do that after.
To ascertain that.
Not sure what to say about this, Nick Hughes. The Gulf War 2003 wasn't about oil, but about burgers. No more detail there. Burgers is returned. I'm going to leave that one hanging unless there's something that I've missed.
No idea.
So
I wish he'd given us more clues.
I know. We've included you, Nick, but we haven't got much to say about that, unfortunately. We've got here one.
He wasn't the same person who asked about the burger.
It wasn't. I double-checked that because I thought it was this part of the same tweet and maybe they will feed into each other. Like it was a follow-on joke, but it's a completely different suggestion from a completely different account.
Mysterious.
There we go. One here from Cooking Lager. Science fiction franchises, from Star Wars to Doctor Who, have not suddenly become shite. They always were shite, but you used to be a kid and now you're an adult.
Yes, well, that's certainly true of Doctor Who, which has always been awful.
I've seen a few of the newer ones, but I've never seen any of the older ones at all. So I couldn't.
They were atrocious. I mean, the new ones are quite well made, but awful in terms of their plots and wokeness and stuff. I believe, so I've been told by people. The original ones were very, very poorly made and silly, but possibly had half decent plots. I'm not sure. You couldn't really concentrate on them because you were focusing on the sets visibly shaking in the background and that kind of thing. It was very, very cheap television. People used to say, even in the 80s, when I was watching it with Sylvester McCoy and people would say, I think really harking back to the original series in the 50s and 60s, they said that, when they were kids, they used to hide behind the sofa. It was so scary. The Daleks going, exterminate. And we used to think, this kind of leads on to the Star Wars thing. Yep. We had Star Wars, which even today looks brilliant. Yeah. And you watch the very first scene of Star Wars with a massive Imperial ship going over. You go, God, I can't believe this was nearly 50 years ago. And you compare that to this rubbish on the BBC, exterminate and all this nonsense.
As if that was the height of, effects at the time.
Which it was on the BBC. And we would just laugh at the older generation for being scared of Doctor Who. Star Wars is a different kettle of fish. I would maintain that the original 3 Star Wars films do stand up, I think. I actually watched them quite recently with my daughter. And I also hate all the other ones, particularly the prequels.
The prequels are awful.
They're just unbelievable.
But that was obviously even at the time, because I was a school child when the prequels came out. And even though you enjoyed them, because you didn't enjoy anything at that age, having seen the other ones, you could still see that they were the originals were vastly superior.
I think the test is people who saw them all at the same time. Right? So my daughter basically saw them all at the same time. She quite rates the prequels, although I'm starting to get her to go off them. Yeah. And I think as she gets older, she probably will, I think. Maybe she was just at an age when she watched them where she just likes anything.
Yeah.
It's a bit like with music, right? I mean, everyone's got their own period in history where they think all the best music was made. And it's usually only about 3 or 4 years. And it's always when you're about 16 or 17. And I will listen to my albums or artists that I thought were fantastically good at that period of time, which was basically the early mid-90s. And then you'll hear a few bonus tracks that you haven't heard before. And you go, that's absolutely crap, right? But what are the chances that the stuff that you were familiar with at the time was brilliant and the stuff that you've only just discovered now is awful? It's more that, I don't know, the brain is just more ready to absorb new things and appreciate things and associate them with the best time in your life, I guess. So I don't know. I think objectively, I think most people would have to say that the early ones were good. I suppose you could just say they're all crap in a way, and they're all a bit stupid and quite thinly plotted, and the characters are, the dialogue's bad and stuff like that. Fair enough. Cooking Lager's a friend of the show. I'm not going to disagree with him. It's not really a hill I'd die on, but I do personally think the first 3 Star Wars, mainly because Han Solo, are good.
Yep, no.
You agree?
I tend to agree, yeah. And even being a child of the prequels, I think I could see it even at the time. I've got a couple of theories, Chris.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I thought I'd try this out for you. Number one is that the decline in teenage pregnancy has wrecked Britain. This is partly about correlation rather than causation.
Don't worry about that.
But, this is what we're talking about. Because I actually looked this up, because it comes up from time to time when we talk about how the youth have lost their way because they're not drinking, smoking. But one thing that's lost is the teenage pregnancy rate. It's fallen off a cliff. No one talks about this. Or only in positive terms. I looked it up. It's fallen 66% between 2007 and 2022. 2007, what happens immediately after that? Financial crisis.
Smoking ban.
Everything starts going wrong. You think you think about everything that's happened since, with the exception of Brexit, and it's absolute horror show. And I also think there is an argument. It indicates that the young are being a bit more risk taking if the teenage pregnancy rate is higher, which I think is a good thing.
Generally, yeah.
Also, maybe it's through the kind of time where everyone has to go on to university, and the age at which people properly grow up seems to extend into the future. High teenage pregnancy rate. I mean, there's a cohort who are just forced to grow up a lot quicker. Maybe that's better. People are obsessed with the birth rate these days as well. And that's something which is,
clearly affected by that, yeah.
Exactly.
Are these teen pregnancies or teen births?
Oh, that's a good point.
They must be teen births, I think.
Yeah,
I don't think
in terms of those numbers, teen pregnancies would be a very thing. This is the under 18 conception rate.
I don't think that we.
But how would you measure that? What, you just going around the doctors or something? That's got to be to term at least, surely. But anyway, it's an indication, isn't it, about how.
Well, I mean, if people are still getting pregnant but not having the babies, i.e., if abortion rates gone up, doesn't tell you anything about risk taking or anything else. Does it? Just shows you people don't want to have babies at that age.
Yeah, I mean, they put it on contraception, but also young people are having less sex than they used to.
How do you know?
Statistics. I haven't got them to hand, but there was this. It was the thing that was written about a lot, like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, no, I can well believe it.
And it seems to be a sort of transatlantic phenomenon. So yeah.
Well, they don't date. Yeah, young men don't dare chat up a woman anymore because of woke.
Exactly. So it's the utter woke nonsense which has basically done this.
So yes, we're literally destroying civilization.
Yep. Thank you.
Of the West.
I think there's something to it.
So yeah, there is something to it. I agree with you.
The other thing, I don't know if this is a theory per se. I think Paloma Faith is a psyop.
Do you?
Because have you ever met? You're going to ruin this now by saying you do know. Have you ever met a Paloma Faith fan?
No, I haven't. I only know her from Tracy.
Have you ever heard a Paloma Faith song?
No, but that doesn't mean anything, to be fair.
That's true. I'm asking the wrong person really here. I on both those counts, I again draw a complete blank. I just don't understand who she's for, other than to pop up and make very irritating political interventions, as she has done recently. Yeah, she got very involved with the Together Against the Far Right march, which she was kind of originally the face of it. I'm not sure if she was actually on it. Periodically crops up to have a go at the right for. So either, it depends how deep the layers of this goes, but either it is to provide a perfect foil for the populists, because it's quite absurd sort of figure. The other reason I think it's kind of confected is that she is, as I think Brendan once said about Caitlin Moran, like a uncool person's idea of a cool person. So it looks like kind of made up by committee, so she kind of has that aspect to her. But so either it is to, like I say, provide a perfect foil for the right, or it's because they're trying to, it's primarily a political instrument.
Essentially, you think she doesn't exist?
Yes, I've never seen a Republic. I mean, that's not necessarily
I've never seen it.
Exactly.
So I have no first-hand knowledge that she exists. She probably doesn't. What kind of music does she make?
I couldn't even tell you. Stephen, who's filmed this, said that it's jazzy pop.
He's a young person.
Yeah. So
that's not a bad theory, Tom. Yeah.
I mean,
certainly she could easily have been boosted beyond all reason. A bit like someone like Gary Stevenson. He just pops up out of nowhere.
Yes.
And suddenly he's a best-selling author and he's all over the TV. Where did he come from? Why is he being boosted?
That was pretty sudden. Have you noticed he's been sort of hauled over the coals a bit over the past week? Because they dug out that clip of him not really understanding tax rates. From a very old podcast from what I remember.
From a very old podcast. I remember watching that podcast at the time and thinking he didn't perform very well on it. But you know why that suddenly become a viral thing? It was because he gave his backing to Zach Polanski.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And it does sort of make you...
He's Zach Polanski's favourite economist, as we learned from the Rest is Politics podcast.
And Richard Murphy.
Yeah. And Grace Blakely.
Yeah. So the moment he came out in favour of the Green Party, there was a massive right-wing pile-on.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting to see just how quickly everyone got their act together. Like they had this clip that had been around for a year or so, and bang, and suddenly it was just, what an idiot, doesn't understand anything about tax at all. Yeah.
Which is strange when his whole issue is tax.
So I'm not gonna give my official back into the Green Party.
Are you not?
I can't stand that kind of. It's bad enough being anti-Letby. I don't want that kind of plan. I'll remain studiously neutral.
Absolutely.
In fact, we're filming this on the day of elections. I haven't voted, and I won't get around to it. Have you?
I have, yeah. It's actually just around the corner from here, so it was actually quite straightforward for me.
Well, I do encourage people to vote.
Do my patriotic duty.
For good public choice reasons, I don't myself.
Exactly. Should we talk about some bands?
You are a dictator.
Yes.
Because this has really got people going.
Can I?
No, I think of course you should use your position.
It's a very short one. This is a sort of band. I don't know if you noticed this. It's not. I'm not going to claim it's the biggest issue in the country at the moment. But peanuts. I'm a big fan of salted peanuts.
Yeah.
I eat quite a few of them. I've got high cholesterol, Tom. And they say you should eat more nuts if you've got high cholesterol. So I've been...
So rather than changing anything else in your lifestyle,
I'm making small changes.
Yeah.
You know, it's a small change that you can
out.
adhere to that count. I could cut down on drinking and fried breakfasts, but I quite like salted peanuts. I'll just eat more of those while I'm drinking. I think if that doesn't work,
sounds good to me.
Then I'm going to give up this health kick. But I do like salted peanuts. I don't like dry roasted peanuts. Never have done. Don't like the taste, don't like the smell. I've noticed these days, peanuts now, on the pack, they will say roasted salted peanuts or salted roasted peanuts when they are just salted peanuts. They've inserted the word roasted in a way that causes me to have to think for a second or two before I pick them off the shelf in case I've accidentally picked up the dry roasted. Don't use the word roasted all of a sudden on salted peanuts when that word is taken by dry roasted peanuts.
Yeah.
They're bitter rivals. There's no need for it. I mean, I guess all peanuts are roasted. I never knew that. Now I do. Fine. I don't need to be told that. All I need is the word salted.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got salt in it. I'll take.
And those are the two categories.
I'll take the roasted as red.
Yeah. But before you get into the flavours or whatever, which again is utter woke nonsense, but it's either dry roasted or it's salted. It's mottling mixture.
Yeah, exactly. Don't mix up the two things all of a sudden.
Yeah.
When I'm nearly 50, because it's confusing.
Yeah.
For a man like me, it's a bit like this. The Lucky Strikes. Not that much like it. Slightly similar. Lucky Strikes. The advertising slogan: "It's toasted," or "They're toasted." It's toasted. I think. And this referred to a process that the cigarettes went through to dry them out, essentially. It turned out that every cigarette was roasted in toasted in exactly the same way. But they just made a thing of it.
Made a virtue out of it.
But we don't need to do that with peanuts. So there we go. That was, I'll just, just a quick one to chuck in there.
No, I like it.
Let's carry on.
I remember when I was a lowly intern at Spike many years ago, I would occasionally have to be sent out to get Rob Lyons, some friend of the show, and obviously long time Spiked member, some dry roasted peanuts. So if I'd have been sent down there and it had been this third category, that could have cost me my job.
Would have been confusing. Disappointing.
History could have been quite different.
Each to their own.
We have a lot of bands.
Or not each to their own. Let's ban things.
No, exactly. Let's get into this.
Lesson of this.
There's one here from Chillin' Jow Frazee. He's got a bit of a retort to you. Oh, I say retort. But wheelie suitcases are fine if people understand that they don't roll about if you put them on their side. Would that ameliorate your concerns about them?
Well, why would you want to put it on your side?
I think I guess what he's getting at is the extent to which they wheel around the carriage on a tube is the problem rather than just the wheelie suitcase
itself. That's not my beef with it at all. No, I've never even noticed them doing that, really. No, it's the sheer size of them.
Yeah.
They're getting bigger as well.
They are, God.
And people block me in when they get on the train at Gatwick. They come on enormous bags. The real issue, I mean, we've been through this all. We don't want to go over all ground, do we? But there's many issues with it. But one is they simply take up too much space when you're walking around. There's not a lot of space in London. Use as little as possible, and everybody walks slower than me. So it's like having to overtake a coach rather than a car.
Yes,
because
they have that kind of drag, don't they? But by dint of the suitcase.
Exactly. They've made themselves longer as people by using these. And the other main issue, and there are, as I say, many, but the other main issue for me is people use them to carry an amount of weight which they cannot in fact carry.
Yes.
Sometimes double their own body weight in the case of some of these little girls who carry them around. And then they get to some stairs or even an escalator.
And chivalry demands that you help.
Stop. No, I don't help them. They stop. They just get in my way.
Yeah.
But this time stationary while they push the little thing down and try and pick it up or pull it up. Just get a suitcase. And I know they're convenient. I can see what he's saying. They are convenient. If I didn't have principles, maybe I'd get one myself. But it's one of these things where if everyone does it, society is made worse.
Yeah.
And surely that is one of the few times where libertarians can get behind a ban.
I think it's a point well made. He's also come up with some of his own bans. Music on phone or some of his solutions to irritating issues. Music on phone should be punishable by weakening the stocks.
At least, yeah. Capital.
Like that. Conference calls on the Jubilee line, very specific, but I like it, should see a year's ban from the underground. So, again,
Can you do a conference call on the Jubilee line? Is the Wi-Fi that good these days?
You get like 4 or 5G down there, I think. Yeah, for like a big stretch of it. Not the entire line. It's like from Westminster eastwards. And then the bit that's above ground as well, pretty much. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, well, I think everyone agrees with those.
They do.
Not even controversial.
Yeah, and also none of these are controversial either. This is from Jim Powell. Alistair Campbell, yes. Heat pumps, yes. Hard-boiled eggs. I don't
What?
mind a hard-boiled egg.
I like a hard-boiled egg. Have you ever had a pickle egg?
Never, actually.
I haven't. I was talking to
They kind of gross me out a bit. It's just look at them.
a few days ago. You only ever see them in fish and chip shops
Yes.
for some reason, but I've never had one. I've had a pickled onion, which I don't mind.
Yeah.
Pickled beetroot, obviously. I mean,
Pickled
I
beetroot,
wouldn't
pickled
consider
onion,
eating beetroot if it
gherkins,
hadn't been
all
pickled.
that whole kind of selection I'm on
I
board
don't think
with.
I've even had a pickled gherkin, but why an egg?
It looks
Why
right.
does it need pickling?
Yeah.
It's already perfectly edible as a hard-boiled egg. It tastes nice.
Exactly.
So rather this guy obviously doesn't think so, but
He doesn't think so. He also doesn't like vegans, again, tick. Pro-Palestine marches, tick. Chelsea, big tick. And inflatable dinghies.
is that a small boats reference?
It's surely. I mean, you can't just be against it. People on their 2-week holiday in, Marbella.
Okay. I'm getting a feel for the kind of guy. he
Yeah.
is.
So I think, again, I
Doesn't
think
like
that's...
vegans, Palestinian ranchers, or dinghies.
I wonder who he voted for today. We've got one here from A. Darryl Wimple. I hope people discarding not quite empty bottles of drink behind tube seats on bus floors or on walls into actual bins has made the list. That is
I
quite
think
annoying.
that is actually already banned, isn't it?
Yeah, it's littering, essentially, isn't it?
littering, yeah.
But it is annoying. Although in London, I think you see it a lot because the bins are always full all the time.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah, like the ones outside of the station, where I mentioned the location, are always stuffed. So maybe that's out of necessity. But nevertheless, I think, again, uncontroversial. There's one here from,
Decline, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. There's one here from The Man.
Country.
Dogs, dog shit, and dog owners.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of sympathy with that, to be honest with you.
You don't like dogs?
It's not that I don't like them. Most dogs are okay. I'm not keen on very big dogs. I'm not keen on anything that might bite me, is what it comes down to. I know it's very unlikely that they will bite me, but they do bite. I have been bitten by a dog before, and I'm not sure people should be walking around with something that, could potentially attack you. And all that happens when they attack you is like, oh, sorry, I've never done that before.
Yeah.
What kind of excuse is that? So, look, I think actually I've put this in as a ban before. People owning dogs in cities. I
think
don't
that's
think
fine.
it should be allowed. I think countryside is fine. You've got a gun dog, a sheep dog, something like that. Lovely, lovely animals. But they're not happy in cities. They don't get to run around enough. I'm not happy with them in cities. So let's get rid of them.
Yep, I think that's fair. There's one here from Sean McGinty.
Hello, Sean, friend of the show. Yeah.
Hello, Sean. Good to hear from you. I would ban croissants being served on small plates. I have done so in my house. Blanket policy. You're not having it on a small plate. And the experience has been positive. Less crumbs on the table, more crumbs on the plate. The crumbs are the best bit of such a waste of CO2 and other scarce resources.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Knowing Sean, I think he's been ironic about the CO2 stuff there.
Yeah.
It's not something I've thought about before, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah. I can imagine you have an
Are the
almond
crumbs
croissant
the
of a
best
morning.
bit? I'm not sure about. I don't mind a croissant actually. Quite
Yeah.
like a croissant.
You're much more continental than I thought,
Well,
Thought you'd be having a bovril and
very
and a
cosmopolitan.
cigarette in the morning.
I've never had bovril at all.
Have you not?
No, not
We'll have to
even-
get
not
your
even
pickled
at
eggs and
football.
bovril after.
Pickled egg and bovril, yeah.
You can dip it.
So yeah, I mean, what's he banning? Small plates.
Yeah, very
I think
specific.
we can let that through.
Again, another uncontroversial one from Janie as well. I would ban sandals with socks on the same day I banned the burqa.
Right. he went up a level.
Yeah, exactly. I like that.
Yeah.
Really, really is up.
So okay.
I really like this one from Dave. I'm sure you've noticed this. Shop card machines, I guess like self-checkouts, that ask you to make a charitable donation when paying. Have you ever thought to yourself, I'm going to put on that extra
I have
rounding
occasionally
error?
rounded up in Majestics
Yeah.
because I'm spending so much money on alcohol. It seems a bit
Gnaws
tight.
at you.
Well, it does a big. It's spending £200 on alcohol. It
But
doesn't.
like,
it feels a bit tight. Not to
Big
get
weekend, was it,
20p to St
Yeah.
Albans Street. So it has happened. The one I would ban above that is London card machines where they ask you if you want to tip on the machine.
That is much
charge
worse.
you £7.75 to go. Would you like to tip me a £1
Yeah.
for serving these drinks? Like
There's no service involved beyond pouring the pint and
that
putting
is
it
a
on.
service.
But you know what I mean?
It's
not,
aimed at tourists, as far as I can see.
Got you.
And a lot of the time, I notice they don't do it if you don't look at all like a tourist. You know what I mean?
Because sometimes they'll
It's
even turn it off for you. Have you noticed that? They'll just be like, yeah,
they
don't worry
do,
about it.
Yeah.
They hear your accent, think, don't worry
in
about
the
it.
mod where they know me, they
Yeah.
have a don't do it to start with. I think they have discretion over whether it comes up or not.
Mhm.
But they just do it for American tourists because Americans are used to paying $1 for every single drink
Exactly. They feel
ever
robbed.
buy.
They'd be kind of fussing that they hadn't, I suppose. So it gives them a out.
Actually, this is very quickly. This is one of my theories. Actually,
Mm.
the Americans aren't as rich as we think they are because they spend so much money on tipping and healthcare.
That's a very good point.
But anyway,
Yeah,
so
no, I
not for
like
another
that.
day, perhaps.
So let's squeeze in a couple more because there's Letby corners to get onto.
To bring the show to a crescendo.
Nick Hughes wants to ban decolonisation. Fair enough. Pikester wants to ban banning. Yeah, you know what we're getting.
He's not banning colonisation, I notice.
interesting, that, isn't it? Also, it depends what sort of decolonization he's talking about. If it's like the curriculum, then fair enough. But, we're really going to...
But actually, yeah, just ending empires.
No, exactly. It's a bigger topic that I want to get into at this stage of the podcast. One here from P. Birrell, ban Master of Public Health degrees.
Yeah, I mean...
Is that a complete con?
I think you could argue ban masters in general.
You think?
It's like a bit of a pointless halfway house between a degree and a PhD.
Because you are a doctor, right?
I'm a proper doctor, yeah. With a real PhD, written a full thesis, not some stupid 10,000 word dissertation, which is what you have to do for a master's. I don't really see the purpose of it. Like most things involving higher education, it's a way of making universities rich. So yeah, get rid of masters. If you want to do postgraduate course, do a PhD.
There we go.
But don't really do that, to be honest, unless you're going to do it something very important like economics.
I've got a couple of bands as well. Do you want to hear them?
Sweet, go on.
I never read this. The first one is middle class tweeisms, but by which I mean kind of speech. So there was actually a piece, and I was told by Georgina, who works here earlier, that there was a piece on Spectator about it. But you ever heard the picky bits, phrases like that to refer to little bits of food, like finger
Picky
food or
bits.
whatever. Finger food's an irritating phrase anyway.
Picky bits, okay.
Stop it.
Yep.
Hollybobs.
Oh, awful.
Phrases like that. Like anything that you can imagine coming out of the mouth of Miranda on that awful show that she used to have. Just any of that, I think, just has to be.
I like the way that she's quite openly middle class. Upper middle class, really.
Rather than kind of hiding it.
I like people who are openly posh. I think that's okay. But yeah, hollybobs can go to hell. Anything along the sort of very British problems line really is unbelievably painful to read or hear.
The sorts of humour that you would see on placards at Remain marches. It's that sort of...
Make tea, not war.
Exactly. It's that kind of energy.
They're
which
all
is
Remainers, aren't they, those people?
Yes, to a man and woman. Yeah. Have you anyone who has ever used the phrase hollybobs voted Remain? Probably twice, if they could. So
cockwomble.
Cockwomble. There we go. The swearier end of it is actually more irritating, like cockwomble, like overuse of the word cunt.
I think they're being edgy.
Yeah, and like overuse of the word cunt, but in the way that completely blunts it of its actual,
Really?
Yeah, they very sweary, but in a kind of not even, it's like sub Rick from the Young Ones. I think we should ban all cycling in London.
Okay.
Like not just cycle lanes.
I'm listening to all
because people have got a bit annoyed about this recently because of the fact that largely because of like Lime bikes and the rise of e-bikes and stuff, there's just this ready supply of the things. You've got kids who hop on them, crack them, they're riding on pavements, the rise of Deliveroo and all the rest of it means that you're just constantly being cut up on the pavement and whatever. It was a problem even before them. They're infuriating. The self-righteousness. One of them gets run over and they expect us all to have a minute silence. Like you're sharing space with articulated lorries and transit vans on a piece of rudimentary equipment. What do you think is going to happen?
Jeremy Vine,
who, I like Jeremy Vine. He's always been, very good to spikes over the years. But that's the other thing that's crept up is the, totally separate, of course, is the sort of snitch culture, which now surrounds cycling.
He's the master of that, isn't he?
I dare say, yeah.
Themselves, aren't they?
There is a lot of that. There was one, I can't remember his name, but he's like one of the big accounts who just goes around snitch. He's got a GoPro on his helmet. I'd ban this guy.
They started, don't they? They deliberately put themselves in situations where motorists are going to get annoyed with them and then have an argument and then put it on the internet like they've just had a Ronnie Pickering incident.
That's exactly what it is.
For the next Ronnie Pickering incident, aren't they?
They absolutely love it. I can't remember the name of this guy, but there was this amazing video of him because he would confront motorists, this cyclist, when people were on their phones often, like just stopped at a traffic light and like checking their phones or whatever. And he'd wind up with like, "Excuse me, did you know what you've done is just against the law," and all that stuff. And then there was an amazing one where he just bumped into this guy who's not having any of it. And he started screaming at the guy. He's just saying that he goes, like, told him to fuck off. Said he was like, started accusing him of being a virgin,
Right.
I bet you're a virgin and a Chelsea fan, I think was also what he said to him. So
the cyclist said this.
The driver said this to the cyclist whilst he was saying, "Oh, if you're going to swear, then you've," it's like that kind of. So that's great.
He still put it online.
That was what was brilliant about it. It was like he was posting his L's, as it were, But cyclists in general.
Cyclists, they're perennials, aren't they? When it comes to this podcast and banning things, it's almost like punching down. It's such a.
It feels so obvious
to go for.
But I suppose what I'm getting at is people beat up on them because it's they're annoying and they're all vegans or they all vote Lib Dem. That is annoying. But it's also just like, it's stupid. Like we used to think other cultures where people still rode loads of bicycles were backwards and strange.
Like China.
Yeah.
Like,
bless them.
Or on bikes, poor people.
Bless them, But it's anyway. So I would get rid of them in a heartbeat.
I, in a way, feel sorry for him because it is a bit harsh how many of them do get killed by Arctic lorries turning left.
But what do you expect?
And they are vulnerable compared to cars, but pedestrians are vulnerable compared to them. That's what they tend to forget. And they treat pedestrians worse than the motorists treat the cyclists. And also, whenever I'm arguing with some idiot on Twitter, it's amazing how often you look at the profile, it's them on their bike or them in their cycle helmet. So they're not just cyclists.
What is these outfits as well? It's a lifestyle.
Base themselves.
It's a subculture.
Yeah, but their entire personality is based around being cyclists, which is pathetic. It's equally pathetic if you base it around being a motorist and I click on your profile and it's your car.
Got the driving gloves.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not something to be particularly proud of. And it's a bit like doctors, I suppose, in that, because the worst of them are the ones who come at you, you tend to tar them all with the same brush. In short, Tom, yes, we should buy
Okay. Yeah. So
in all cities, I would say.
Preaching to the choir, but Shall we turn to a very special edition of Lucy Letby Corner?
Lucy Letby Corner.
Is it a special edition?
Do you know why it is a special edition, Chris? Is because of the fact that this is actually you answering your critics.
And also because she's been in prison for 2,000 days.
There we go.
Peter Hitchens. Peter Hitchens has released a podcast with an accompanying Daily Mail article saying that Lucy Letby's been in prison for 2,000 days. He's the only person I've noticed mention this anniversary. And it's hard not to imagine his bedroom with a lot of notches on the wall.
Just says
counting down, which probably even Letby doesn't do.
Yeah. Free the Cheshire one, written
So another chance for him to write his article and another chance for us to talk about the case. Let's go.
Exactly. So
these, I imagine these are all supportive of my position on this. Yeah?
Unfortunately not.
Yeah.
But they're mainly, it's quite vituperative, and I've caught a few strays as well. But nevertheless, let's boil this down. One of them is there's an air of irkedness to this, but nevertheless, it's a slightly more technical question. You probably understand this to an extent I don't. I have a question for Chris Snowdon. What is this from Mervyn? Hello, Mervyn. What is the advantage of injecting 3 to 5 bags with around 1 to 5% of a vial of insulin over just injecting it all into one bag? And of all the drugs in a hospital medicine cabinet, why would you use the one drug whose effect a baby is already being treated for? Do you want to explain that
it's quite a niche question, isn't it?
Answering it.
Okay, we'll go over some of our listeners' heads. He is referring to Baby F and Baby L. He's wrong about Baby F. Baby F did not have hyperglycemia. There were 2 bags injected, it was alleged in that case. Probably more than 2 bags in the case of Baby L, who was indeed being treated for low glucose, I think. That wouldn't explain why he had such low levels of C-peptide and such high levels of insulin. So there you go, Mervyn. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
There you go. So I feel like I'm going to put a disparaging accent on or something. This one's from Bo Squidley.
Hi, Bo.
Yes. No, I won't do that. Yeah. Why is I'm laughing already. Yes, why is Snowdon such an insufferable prick? His inability to grasp the evidence that at least suggests Lucy Letby is innocent harms your product. How can anyone take you seriously promoting such arrogant, uninformed bilge? Get rid.
Get rid of what? Us? Or
yeah, presumably.
Lucy Letby Corner. One of our most popular features.
Exactly.
As you can tell.
Also, I love the fact this just shows that they're really watching. Because we don't even split out. Sometimes we will, but it's often buried in the show.
Right at the end. Make them watch all the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So these are real hardcore. So, bless them.
Well, Bo, what can I say? But it's more just an insult, isn't it?
It is.
It's not really a question.
I just love this. Not because it's having to go at you, but it's...
She's still in prison and I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. Who's really winning? One here from Mark J. Mays. Why do a pair of utter tossers like you exist? And how have you somehow gained a media presence despite being nasty, vacuous, posho thickies without a shred of critical thinking between you? Hashtag wank stains of media.
I think that's our order. We are not posh.
We're not posh. No. I might be thick, but I'm not posh.
He makes some good points. So we're not posh.
Exactly. You call us thick, you call us wank stains.
I think
posh is a bridge too far.
His argument with that.
I think so, yeah.
Well, I know who that is, actually. He has a particularly pathetic YouTube channel which doesn't get any real attention, which is maybe why he's so bitter, in which he films himself in black and white, sometimes literally crying over the fact that Miss Letby is still in prison. And I blocked him a long time ago for reasons that hardly need explaining. But suffice to say, he is often like that. So yeah, we haven't got any anti-Leby ones. They're all pro-Leby.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, you'll have noticed this, Chris. This is, I imagine, why you got involved in this discussion is that there's a bit of a imbalance insofar as a lot of people who are really into Lucy Letby, certainly people who are just online and, aren't people who write columns or so on and so forth. Although not exclusively. There's a big imbalance in terms of the Lebyist seem to be not only shouting the loudest, but quite numerous. I'm not saying like most people would be of that view, but they're more motivated. It seems like
what would be the flip side to that? Like just having a bunch of people who are constantly going on about how great it is that she's in prison, and how awful she is, and how definitely guilty she was. I mean, she's in prison. If she was released, you would soon hear a lot of people going, "This is absolutely
fair point.
outrageous. How are we allowing this guilty woman out?" But it's a bit like Brexit in a way. It's like once the referendum was won, the people who were campaigning for it kind of just quietened down.
Yeah,
and the people who lost went on about it incessantly.
Brilliant. Unless you've got anything else that you want to add, Chris, anything else you want to get off your chest? We can draw this postbag episode to a close.
Covered all my main points.
I love that you've actually prepared for this one. This is how serious
I was prepared to talk about the snooker if there was any time, but sorry, don't need to bother with that. Suffice to say, the new world champion is a smoker.
Really?
So that's something. Yeah, he
there
was
we
caught
go.
having tab outside the crucible on more than one occasion.
Perfect.
So nice.
Nature is healing.
Back exactly.
Yeah. So ban cyclists, don't free Lucy Letby, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Last Orders. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and click the bell so you never miss another spiked video. If you're listening to this on your podcast app, make sure you subscribe there and give us a glowing 5-star review. And if you'd like to get in touch with your questions or ban suggestions, email us at lastorders@spiked-online.com.